Oando recently issued a statement in the form of clarification, and it was signed by its Chief Strategy and Corporate Services Officer, Alex Irune, explaining that the company stated that with the concerted efforts of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, to aggressively drive private sector-led refineries rehabilitation and expansion programs, Oando, as local partner to NAOC ENI, which we know as AGIP, will support the active rehabilitation of the Port Harcourt Refinery on activities of terminaling, logistics, structuring, and funding. Now, to explain all this to us further, it's my pleasure to welcome the CEO of Proshare Nigeria Limited, Mr. Femi Awoyemi. Good morning. Now, Mr. Awoyemi, since we have you, we shall make best use of your presence here with us today.
Do.
Now, what is the controversy about this? This thing's been going on for what? About 3-4 years?
Perhaps
and
decades.
It's supposed to be concluded in July of this year. So, whence cometh the controversy at this point in time?
Okay, so let's start with what we know, and then we go to what we do not know. What we do know is that sometime around May 5th, the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum, Dr. Ebeka Chukwu, in Houston at the OTC conference, said that Nigeria was going to get investments for its refineries, especially sometime around September 2017. And investors were interested in seeing what would happen. On May 9th, Dr. Ebeka Chukwu made an announcement that AGIP, a subsidiary of the Italian giants, ENI, had committed to repairing the Port Harcourt Refinery under what he considered a $15 billion investment that would also include the building of a 150,000 barrels refinery and a power plant. Around May 11, the charter was in the market around investments that Oando had gotten this agreement in place. By May 15, Oando issued that clarification, which you saw. And by May 30th, the Senate, after a motion by, I believe, distinguished Senator Sabo Mohammed, an APC Jigawa South, said that the process through which Oando emerged was not, showed a lack of clarity, was not transparent, and it did not follow due process. He even made an attempt to say that it did not comply with the Public Procurement Act. That is what we know. So the question is, why would they stop that investment which is supposed to benefit Nigerians?
But we also do know that this thing was open to bids earlier.
No, that's a different thing. There are two different things. So to go back and say, why is it an issue? It is a serious issue because there's a direct linkage between transparency in public sector infrastructural issues and investments. And for this kind of project, you need actual foreign direct investments in it. And where a system is not transparent, you cannot be giving out of the national assets, to use the words, to the back door, as it were. So to that thing you're talking about is that's when I refer to decades. Sometime around 2005 or thereabout, we had a long process where the Port Harcourt Refinery, along with others, where they had a huge competitive bid for it. There was an initial process of about 4 people who were qualified, but then all 4 were later on also found not to have done very well. Then they had a second bid, which was an expansive one, backed up by Credit Suisse, who basically managed the process. This was under the Bureau of Public Enterprises. And this whole process went for about 2 years. And it ended up in 2007, whereby they gave to Blue Star, which was a consortium put together by Transcorp, I believe. The Yar'Adua government came in, and then they basically just reversed it. And then Blue Star was given out, and so Nigeria came back to this situation where we're in. So the large argument is this. The Minister for Petroleum Resources must, in his judgment, believe that we must do something. But yet, Nigeria, and then they decided that, look, the best way to go about it is to do a repair, operate, and maintain structure. There's no problem with that. The real problem is that if you're going to do that, there's something called the Infrastructure Concession Commission Establishment Act 2005, which basically covers concessioning by public sector people, not the Public Procurement Act. The total refinery capacity in the country is about 440 barrels per day. Port Harcourt Refinery will give you 220. Kaduna does 110,000 barrels per day. Given all the lacuna that occurred, there's a private refinery being built in this country that will give you 650,000 barrels per day. It would only make sense for the country to get all the other refineries upstream as well, so that if you look at the total capacity, we would have over 1 million barrels per day in this country. So to the extent that Port Harcourt Refinery has to be put in a functional state, it's perfectly okay. But what is not okay is this whole idea of meeting some people behind and then just giving them the job. We've passed through it before. It's what I call the revolving door crisis we face. We've done it. Let's give 2 examples where we did it in the telecom sector, which worked. Today we maybe talk about service quality or maybe rates, but we are not talking about the process or who they gave the job to. We don't have phone. But look at the second side where it did not work, the energy sector. A situation where Nigeria will not even have electricity long after this administration is gone. So if you take the positive one, someone like Ernest Ndukwe, who put the thing together today, nobody talks about him. Because it's not personal, he's just doing the job. Ibe Kachuku has to put his house in order. He means well, he's trying to do a good job, but he needs to put his house in order and understand that long after he's gone, we must not go back to the same issue of giving people repairs, operate and maintain contracts, and they never do it well. It could all be that if a competitive bid were put in place, Oando might still win it. The whole idea is that the signaling effect, when we do this privatization or concessioning, as it were, needs to be transparent and needs to be credible, so that we don't go back through this whole thing again and then start doing another probe next year and going forward.
Let me just take a break. When you're talking about bids, around 2005, December 2005, the BP talked about some people that bidded for the contract to run the Port Harcourt Refinery, and Oando was also mentioned there. Oando, you talked about a Blue Star, that's Transcore. There's Refinery Petroplus. There is also SI Infrastructure and all of that. So now, that means there was a bidding process.
Oh, that process was very credible.
So what happened to that process?
Oh, well, I told you, he went through a second stage where they even added new names to it. They became 8,
and at the end of the day,
they awarded the job.
Hold on a second. According to BP, all the bidders,
another administration.
According to the BP, all the bidders failed the technical bids.
Yes, because there was a misunderstanding. Well, in this case, it's also fair because it wasn't just 1, 2, 3 persons who failed. All 4 of them failed it. And the explanation given by BP then, if I recall, was that there was a misinterpretation of some of the requirements. That was why all of them failed it. So they now went through a more elaborate thing in which they made it more explicit. And then they even invited more people to give it much more credibility. So they invited other people whom they thought may be better than this one.
Why are we having problems with whether to concession or sell, or even to say, these people who are given license, I mean, in 2010, some people were given licenses to build refineries. Why can't you just say, you know what, come run this one?
You said those people have been given licenses. Have you seen anybody try to build a refinery?
What's the problem?
No, the point is the process. Because you end up, look, all you need to answer that question is to look at the energy sector. The process through which they were given, that's why Gencos are complaining, Discourse are complaining, government is complaining, the people are complaining. Why is everybody complaining? It's clear. The process through which these things emerge are not. Sometimes we have to understand that we may not have all the necessary competencies here, which allows those who have competencies to also come in and bid in the country as well. And then they may have local partners as well. There's no problem about that. It's also clear for us to be sure that we know what we are trying to achieve.
An old woman asked me a question. Might sound funny, but she asked the question, is our energy sector cursed?
The energy sector is not cursed. Incompetence and insincerity is the problem. Nothing is wrong about your energy. So, look, you are still talking about energy we're acting out of our memory most of the time when we talk about energy, rather than look into our imagination, i.e., there are so many forms of sustainable, renewable energy projects available now. We are still locked in doing the basic ones. If you have a major vision for your energy project and put it out there and you invite bids because you are genuinely interested to solve the problem, You can divide the country into, I mean, these things are already done. There are technical papers in that place that looked at all these things, looking at alternative forms of energy, the alternative sources of power, and then you can have a combination of it, and then you put it out there, and there are competent people, both local and international, who can bid for it. But when you find a situation whereby we always meet behind the call and say, oh, you, my friend, come in, you are connected, you're a politically relevant person, and then you give out the jobs, and then we have the problem in delivery.
Without checking their competency.
Yeah.
It seems to the common man now that those who bought over pieces of NEPA, whatever name they're called these days, just do not have the competence.
Look, let me give you another example. When they do get some of these funds, there are two major challenges. One, you find challenges in terms that they cannot get the funding that they need to actually execute those things. Secondly, you look at the models that they're giving may not be suitable to run the business. Maybe sometimes we just import a model without local peculiarities. So if you look at it, there is no way Nigeria can have steady power between now and 2020. Okay. Because of the rot. So we don't want that to happen in our petroleum sector.
Please don't be a prophet of doom.
No, that's a factual statement.
We were just talking about hope when the program started.
Oh, that's hopeful.
So we have hope.
No, I gave you hope because I said 2020. I said 2020, that's 3 years away.
But there is an urgent need for investment in our local refineries.
There's an urgent need for us to get our act right, to have a clear idea. You see, there is nothing as worse as not having clarity. You can achieve projects by design, or you can continue the path we're going, whereby we achieve project by coincidence. That means we just, like we did before Faniamu era, we fumble our way through it and we get there. If you want, what is it you need in terms of your oil industry? Refineries to produce locally and then distribute and get everybody have the first. That's not a big deal. I've just told you that you already have 440,000 barrels per day, right? If you have another one coming on 650,000 barrels per day. Maybe there are others who are also doing it. The totality of that means that we'll be self-sufficient and would actually export out of this country and earn effects as well. That is not something that is going to happen in 20 years' time. It's going to happen in 2 years' time. By fourth quarter of 2015, we'll have it. What I believe the NNPC also should be doing is to get their own 440 actually going. They can do that, just put out a bid for everybody else who are interested. And that brings you foreign direct investment. Your foreign direct investment will come and say, look, the process through which we are going to put our money is transparent. And as such, we won't have problems again after going through it.
Is it that the political interest is so much higher than the economic interest?
I think we should not confuse incompetence, corruption motives with political interest. There are three separate things. Sometimes they all work together.
In this case now, what do we have?
Well, in this case, that's the whole idea of saying that, look, you just can't say, oh, you come and turn the place around and go.
You have to open it up.
Just send the bid out and let people come.
bid. Yeah.
That's just all there is. Okay. And look, the idea and the notion that there's some altruistic motive that you love the country, we all love the country. But the country must also,
I mean, love of country hardly features when you're talking about...
Let's talk about numbers.
Business,
Okay, what time frame is this ROM? All these things have to be open. Look, the key point is this. If you are dealing with a national asset, the process is not just so much of the investment side of it, it's also about